He goes on to this case of property dualism and the case for the immaterial nature of consciousness. So are properties such as being in pain or having a thought or states and events composed of them, specific pain or thinking of an event, generally mental, or are they physical? What is their real nature, he says. Property dualism is the view that conscious properties, events, are mental and not physical. So think of an elephant. You can't go into someone's brain and then root around and all of a sudden you come up with this clay object of an elephant. All you're getting is synapses firing. And so you have to ask them, are you thinking of an elephant? And they tell you yes. And there you go. Like that's pretty much it. And so these two types of events, the physical brain, but they're manifesting non-physical mental states.
Right. And so he's going to make a case here that consciousness is different from physical reality, right? That's what he's really getting at here. And so he says, before he gets to that, though, we need to take note of what he calls the law of identity. And it's a sophisticated way of making a common everyday point. And what's the point? Well, here's the basic idea, the argument for it. He says, if X is identical to Y, right? If X is the same thing as Y, then whatever is true of X is also true of Y. And whatever is true of Y is also true of X. So that's what he calls the law of identity. So if it's true of Tony that he is a, teacher, and he's also a husband. So if Tony is teacher and Tony is husband, if we're identical, Tony as teacher and Tony as husband are identical, then whatever is true of Tony as teacher is also true of Tony as husband. Right? That's the law of identity. So notice now what he does with this. He says, if we can find one thing true or possibly true of X that is not true or possibly true of Y, then they're not the same thing. They're not identical. They violate the law of identity, even if one of the two depends on the other for its function. So that's the basis here. And what he's going to argue here then is that he's going to show us several ways where, mental consciousness type things are different than the physical things. And since they are, then they're not identical. So that's where he's going.
Right. And so he says if there's one righteous person, then it won't be the identity. And so what he does is he's going to give us 5, going above and beyond for the extra credit there.